You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. I don't know. I feel like my voice is sounding a little, a little too much like Pharrell's. I don't know why. I feel like I've been doing a lot of talking lately, like outside of here. Because I don't know if you know me outside of here. I'm actually fairly quiet outside of here, and I don't do that much talking. Hard to believe, right? Like, guy just chooses to yell into a microphone for a living. Not that interested in talking. But I really am not. But I've been doing a lot of it lately, and it's starting to wear on the old vocal pipes. So we got some things to talk about today. NFL, NBA, but specifically Atlanta. It's just going to be an Atlanta day. Good TV show. And right now, not a bad place for sports. All things Braves notwithstanding. Right? So we'll get into all of those things. 538. You say their website name there? It is 538. I thought it was going to be 583 or something, and I was going to be wrong. No, it's 538. 538 has a nice little write-up on Matt Ryan and why Matt Ryan should be your front runner for MVP of the National Football League. If you just look at the numbers that Cam Newton had a year ago and that Aaron Rodgers had and that Peyton Manning had as those three guys are the last three quarterbacks to win the MVP award. Simply looking at those numbers statistically, Matt Ryan is in very good company, and he might even be outdoing those guys a little bit. Also, the Atlanta Hawks are off to a pretty good start, which it's weird. I feel like there are people that care more about the Hawks outside of Atlanta than in Atlanta. Atlanta is an interesting sports town. And as much as people think that they're not a great sports town, and I don't understand exactly what separates them from cities like Los Angeles. But I'll talk about that in a little bit. First, I'd like to tell you about where you can find us online. And, of course, where we can find you. If you reach out, we'll reach back. That's just how that goes. If you find us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, you get to see on YouTube my face. If you've ever heard my voice and thought, I would love to punch the face, you can see what it looks like. At least know what your target looks like. That's all I'm saying. You can check us out. You can even agree, disagree down in the comment section below. You can check us out on Facebook as well. We've got a radio plug-in. You can stream Hot News Talk Radio from Facebook. It really is the future, even though 2016 is a crappy year. Regardless, you can also stream us on our website, noogaradio.com, and on the TuneIn Radio app, which is absolutely free in whatever app store is most convenient for you. Simply search Hot News Talk Radio in the app. Give us a favorite. Press play. You'll have Hot News Talk Radio every single where that you choose to go. That's Hot News Talk Radio in the TuneIn Radio app. Listen like you mean it. Yeah, Matt Ryan ought to be the midseason MVP. It's crazy because I've heard for years the roller coaster that Atlanta fans ride with Matt Ryan, which is, I don't know, how good is he? How good is Matt Ryan really? And as a guy who is not on the inside of that, because it's very easy to be overly critical of your football team. Whoever you root for, Titans, Falcons, Broncos, Colts, whoever. If you root for any team, college even, it's easy to be overly critical and overly analytical of the person you have, that whole grass is greener mentality. Right? That's why it's very easy for Georgia fans to look around and look and see what Alabama's doing and look around and look and see what Clemson was able to do and what Florida State's able to do. And then you look at Mark Richt, and he's a good coach. But for all the success and for all the winning, the national titles just weren't there. The natties, right? You didn't see it. And it's very easy to be overly critical of that guy if that's your team. Everyone else is sitting back and going, hey, no, you should just be happy with that. I would be happy with that. I'm a Longhorn fan, though. I would be happy with that. The grass really is greener literally everywhere else. I would be very, very happy with that. Unfortunately, that's just not the way that it all rolls. However, in the case of Matt Ryan, there's just no level to be that overly critical. There's no reason to be that overly critical. Right? Like, people knew in the years that the Colts didn't win the Super Bowl. You could pin it on Peyton Manning. You could go, yeah, Peyton Manning, he can't get it done in the postseason. And even when that was the knock on Peyton Manning, no one ever thought to themselves, would this team be better off without him? People have said that about Matt Ryan. Makes no sense. And not just Peyton. Guys that are controversial because of their mentalities. Guys like Brett Favre. Brett Favre's a gunslinger. Shoots from the hip. Isn't doing the same thing that Peyton and Brady are doing mentally with the game. Brett Favre is thinking to himself, my arm is a cannon. Why on earth wouldn't I just sling it between two defenders? And he did, to great success and sometimes to some failures, to some very frustrating failures as well. But no one ever thought to themselves that had Brett Favre, until Brett Favre really started getting old, wouldn't this team be better without Brett Favre? Especially when you have Aaron Rodgers waiting in the wings. It's easier to ask that question. But overall, nobody asked themselves in Brett Favre's prime, wouldn't this team be better without Favre? There's only two guys in the National Football League that I see have this. One is Tony Romo, who, you've got Dak Prescott with the control of that team. And I have some thoughts about Romo that I might get to on another day. But one's Tony Romo. The other is Matt Ryan. The other guy that it's okay to go, wouldn't this team be better off without him? For some strange reason, people like to pick on Matt Ryan. And Matt Ryan can have 3 great seasons in a row. He has one down season, which he did last year. But never mind that the whole team had a down year. Every position of that team outside of Devontae Freeman underachieved. Right? Like, outside of running back, everybody was just absolutely awful. But we put it on the shoulders of Matt Ryan. And it's okay to say, boy, do we have to ask some questions about whether or not we can get this done with Matt Ryan? As though there isn't a quarterback shortage in the NFL, and who else if not Matt Ryan? And now Matt Ryan is having an MVP caliber season about halfway through the season. Right? We're reaching the halfway point. Matt Ryan has had thus far an MVP caliber season. And nobody's talking about it. Which means that the next time Matt Ryan has an off year or a down year, it's going to be very easy to write him off. Because we love to ask the question, shouldn't we try and do something else? Wouldn't we be better off without him? Is Matt Ryan actually good? But if you had a quarterback that was putting up numbers like this, okay, because this is Matt Ryan. This is Matt Ryan halfway through through the season. Matt Ryan is on pace, right? Is on pace to complete 69% of his passes, throw for 5,298 yards, 41 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, with an average an average pass pickup of 9.3 yards per passing attempt. Which, by the way, beats everybody else in front of him. Right? Peyton Manning in 2013 has more passing yards and more touchdowns. Everybody else, though, is getting waxed. Because the year that Peyton won the MVP, 68% of his passes, 5,477 yards, 55 touchdowns, which is just alarming, to 10 interceptions and 8.9 yards per attempt. Matt Ryan is beating him in more yards per attempt and completion percentage. And it's pretty close. The yardage gained by Peyton Manning and the touchdowns thrown by Peyton Manning, by the way, Peyton threw about 100 more passes than Matt Ryan is on pace to throw this season. 100 more. Matt Ryan is having himself a heck of a season. And if he's able to do that, he would have better numbers than Cam, who threw merely for 3,837 yards, completed less than 60% of his passes, and had a 35 touchdown to 10 interception ratio with 7.2 yards per passing attempt. And Aaron Rodgers, the year he won his MVP, 65%, 4,000 yards. And Matt's going to have him beat by about 1,000 yards. And 38 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. He's going to have him beat in touchdowns. He's going to lose in interceptions by about 2 interceptions. And again, only 8.7 yards per attempt for Aaron Rodgers. So basically, Manning, Rodgers, and Newton. And in most categories, Matt Ryan is on pace to beat all of them. Now, granted, he's got to continue to play the way that he's playing. But if you've seen the Falcons play, there is absolutely no good reason to believe that he won't. He is playing lights out football. And what he's doing is something that you won't be able to find from a lot of other quarterbacks who are in that average quarterback range, where I think Matt Ryan very unfairly often gets lobbed out to. Like, we rank the quarterbacks. ESPN did their quarterback tier system thing that they do every year or whatever. And you look at the quarterbacks, the different tiers, and you can tell which quarterbacks we know what to do with. We know what to do with Brady, elite. We know what to do with Rodgers, elite. We know what to do with Cam, or at least we did at the beginning of this season, elite. Those guys are considered to be elite quarterbacks in this league because they're different skill sets. Roethlisberger, elite. And then there's the guys you don't know what to do with. And we all know who those guys are. Like, we know who the guys that you're pretty sure are bad are. We know who those people are. Case Keenum, he's bad. Sam Bradford, he's doing better in Minnesota. He's bad. Ryan Fitzpatrick, he's bad. So you know who your bad guys are. You know who your great guys are. You even know who the average guys are, right? Kirk Cousins, he's average. Joe Flacco, he's average. Eli Manning, he's average. You know who the average guys are. Who you don't know, there's these group of guys where you're not necessarily sure what to do with those guys. And it could just be their status in the league, their age. They're playing well, but they're really young, like Derek Carr. Derek Carr is playing really well. But is it too early to say he's elite? Could he fall back into being bad? We don't know. Same thing for Marcus Mariota. Arguably the same thing for Jameis Winston. Lights out rookie season, kind of regressing in the second season. Jameis Winston, well, what do we make of the guy? We don't know. Right? Like, and there was a point this season where you probably could argue we don't know what to do with Brock Osweiler, but I think we can justifiably say that we are like 3 weeks removed from the verdict that he's a bad quarterback. He's a bad quarterback. And I think Denver did the right thing moving away from him. And Matt Ryan has a tendency to fall into that group of guys that you don't want to say is great, but you don't want to say is average either. You just don't know. And my argument is, no, you do know. Matt Ryan is an elite quarterback. What he's on pace to do this season is up there with the best quarterback performances ever, and at least of the last decade, for an entire season. And he's doing something that you won't see happen up in Cincinnati with another guy that people used to put in a comparable spot with Matt Ryan, Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton's playing pretty well. Andy Dalton is having a good season. The Bengals aren't out of it. But you know what Andy Dalton's got? A.J. Green. And when Andy Dalton has a problem, when Andy Dalton is in trouble, A.J. Green. That's it. That's like cheating. You know, you're trying not to look at the back of the answers of the book or whatever. Just A.J. Green. Oh, no, I don't know what to do. I'm not going through my progressions anymore. The pressure's coming. I'm just going to throw it up to A.J. And because A.J. Green is Adriel Jeremiah Green, he comes down with the ball. That's just what he does. And before you say, but Keon, doesn't Matt Ryan have Julio Jones? He does have Julio Jones. But you know what's interesting about Matt Ryan and Julio Jones? Julio Jones has had games this year where he has registered 1 catch. No catches. If the defense takes away Julio Jones, Matt Ryan is about to skewer you with everybody else. And that's why he's an elite quarterback. And if he continues to play at the rate that he is playing, and this team continues winning football games, which, again, no reason why they shouldn't, given both the rest of their schedule and the fact that they are in the NFC South, which is a terrible division of football if you have seen it this year. The Panthers are bad. The Saints can't play defense. The Buccaneers are bad. There's no reason to really think that this team is going to slow down anytime soon. Then you got to give the MVP award to Matt Ryan. Not only that, but I think you can justifiably expect the Falcons to actually make a playoff run this year because they weren't a complete team in years past. And I constantly hate how we do the thing in sports that we do where there's no nuance to this conversation. You look at Matt Ryan, you look at his playoff record, you see that he's been to the playoffs a bunch of times. You also see that he hasn't won any of those games that he's been to the playoffs for. And I cannot stress enough that football is a team sport. But not only can I not stress that enough, everybody can't stress that enough. If you ask people, if you just took a poll of random sports fans in America, which sport would you consider to be the ultimate team sport? Football would be considered the ultimate team sport. You've got 11 guys on the field for your team at once, and they have to coordinate and do their job. And if they don't, they fail to do so at the detriment of everybody else on the field. Do your job. Because you can have in basketball a guy kind of sitting back on his heels. But if you have LeBron on your team, it makes things a little bit better. The Thunder started off the season up until they rolled into the Warriors as the only undefeated team in the Western Conference. And they were doing so because Russell Westbrook is a flipping monster. He is a beast. And because of that, Russell Westbrook is carrying a team of not nobodies, good players, but certainly not stars. You take Russell Westbrook off that team and replace him with an average player, that team's not undefeated. That team's not even above 500. You can do that in basketball. Baseball, if your pitcher dominates and you've got one guy who can consistently hit, you've got a chance to win games you've got no business winning. If you don't have a good team in football, you're more liable to fail. You could have a great quarterback. If he doesn't have time to throw, you'll never see it. You could have great receivers. If he doesn't have a good quarterback throwing to him, you'll never see it. Remember what happened in Arizona when Larry Fitzgerald, who we all know to be a very great wide receiver, all but disappeared because he had garbage quarterbacks throwing him the ball? You remember that? There was a run where Ryan Lindley was throwing the ball in the direction of the great Larry Fitzgerald, and we were not able to see his greatness because Ryan Lindley was throwing the ball. You remember that? Football's the ultimate team sport. Yet we call it the ultimate team sport, but when a quarterback goes to the playoffs and he loses, oh no, the quarterback didn't get it done. He can't get it done in the postseason. And we unfairly level that on Peyton Manning. We unfairly level it on Matt Ryan as well. And I would argue that it's more detrimental to Matt Ryan because Peyton Manning, without a Super Bowl, would have been a Hall of Famer. Peyton Manning's the greatest regular season quarterback that ever lived. Without a ring, Peyton would have been in the Hall of Fame. And that's a small group of people. Matt Ryan, without a championship, ain't sniffing the Hall of Fame. It's not happening. People will consider him to be somewhere in between average and elite. In other words, I don't know what to do with him. And that's going to happen in Hall of Fame voting too. If Matt Ryan doesn't have a consistent string of postseason victories and or come away with a Super Bowl at one point in his career, I can honestly tell you that dude is not in the Hall of Fame. And I talked a little bit about it yesterday, but look no further than Eli Manning and Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers is a demonstratively better quarterback. Eli Manning has 2 Super Bowls. Guess which guy is going to the Hall of Fame? It's going to be Eli. Unless Phillip can pull one or make a deep postseason run with some memorable plays, we're going to be talking about Phillip Rivers in the Hall of Fame. Maybe. Eli, definitely. You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. Thank you for joining me today, making me just a small part of your day. You know I appreciate you. I do have a controversial opinion on Tony Romo and Dak Prescott. Maybe it's just me. I hope you're having a good election Tuesday. We'll be back at 1240, Hot News Talk Radio. Next.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Is your career taking you where you want to go? If not, talk to Covenant Group Insurance, especially if you like helping people. Call and learn how you can work for yourself, but not by yourself. Intense but free training, plus a fantastic lead program, plus office support equals your success, your prosperity. Gross at least $75,000 your first year selling insurance. Call Steve or Jada for a confidential interview. That's 855-8484. Maybe the most important call you'll make all year.
And now to our reporter in the field.
We asked Ray at Ray's Plumbing what's important for homeowners to know.
Some field line systems can cost upwards of $10,000. The bottom line is to save yourself money down the road. I would definitely recommend everybody with a septic that is not on county or city sewer to have an inspection done by a qualified professional. It'd be great if nobody did inspections on them for all plumbing companies. That's what we do to make a living. Not to scare anyone, but it should be in the back of your mind. The danger is a field line failing and costing thousands upon thousands of dollars and tearing your yard up. By preventative maintenance, you're saving yourself a large headache that may displace yourself and your family. That happens more often than you think. The waste is designed to stay in the tank, and that waste will build up over time. Even with treatment, we have to help that waste break down. Ultimately, preventative maintenance is the key that will keep you from spending $5,000 to $10,000 on replacing your septic system. The bottom line is to save yourself money down the road.
Call Ray at Ray's Plumbing, 421-6341, 421-6341.
A $500 gift card.
$500, what?
That's right, Bunky. A $500 gift card from a store of your choice. The agents at Exit Realty Scenic City are confident they can sell your house. They can do it in 99 days or less. If your listing proves a slowpoke, they will give you a $500 gift card. No one works harder for you than agents at Exit Realty Scenic City. Licensed in Tennessee and Georgia. Exit sells quickly all types of commercial and residential properties and vacant land. Looking for a dream home, or maybe you're just a first-time home buyer? Let an agent get you started today on your house search. If you're a real estate agent looking for a change, see what Exit can do for you. Training, technology, branding, culture, and financial freedom. Again, Exit Realty Scenic City. Call 423-551-EXIT to learn more. Call 423-551-EXIT and learn more.
Terms and restrictions may apply.
Cash, 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 and more cash. Rick Davis has the cash when you sell gold, silver, diamonds, rings, and jewelry. Sell Rick your precious metals today and lock in your price. Hey, Rick Davis will trade your cash for shiny, brilliant, and heavy gold. Gold cheaper now by $100 an ounce. Join the Rick Davis Silver Bonanza too. Prices so low, the Lone Ranger is bound to gallop in, Kimosabi.
Hey-ho, silver, away!
The markets are changing, so buy now. Cash, 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 and more cash for your silver and gold, gold, gold. Rick Davis, 5301 Brainerd Road. That's 5301 Brainerd Road. Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds. Oh, and cash, cash, cash. You know where it is.
Hey-ho, silver, away! Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio with your Hot News Now update. Gunshots rang out in East Ridge last night with one victim reported. A gunman has not been found. Chattanooga is getting smoked out of their own city. Smoke now in Hamilton County above acceptable levels, according to the Chattanooga-Hamilton County Air Pollution Control Bureau, which is now encouraging residents to stay inside if they can and to not breathe smoke if possible. Interim Superintendent Cupelli has said that he would like to be the permanent superintendent, but also respects the wishes of other school board members for them to find a search firm to find someone who might be more qualified, although Mr. Kelly says that he is the most qualified. He has been the interim superintendent since the firing of Superintendent Rick Smith over the Ottawa rape case. In Hamilton County on Super Tuesday, polling stations open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. You can make a child's Christmas wish come true by donating a toy for the Tennessee Baptist Children's Home. Stop by Chick-fil-A, pick up a tag from the tree, and help a child have a wonderful Christmas. If it's going on in the Tennessee Valley, it's going on Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
Expect mostly clear skies to continue through your nighttime. Overnight lows still cool between 45 and 48. Now for your Tuesday, some passing clouds mixing with the sunshine. Highs a little closer to 70. Still looking dry for the midweek, but a little cooler with highs dropping into the 60s. For lunch or dinner, come to Guthrie's, home of the original golden fried delicious chicken finger with their special sauce. Open daily. Locations in Trenton, Signal Mountain, Ringgold, and now 5203 Brainerd Road. That's Guthrie's. And I'm Source 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr.
On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
Martin Truex Jr. is off the pace and he is headed to the pit lane. Elliott Powers around the outside. Michael McDowell pops the right front tire. Here's Martin Truex to the bottom. Blaney blocks him off too. Meanwhile, Chase Elliott went 4 wide on the back straightaway. They're side by side for the lead.
Hear it live on Chattanooga's official NASCAR radio station. Hot News Talk 1240. The voice of NASCAR.
I did not vote election season. That was on purpose. I didn't become apathetic. It's not that I don't care. It's not that I think my vote is a wasted vote, which it kind of is, but that's not why I chose not to vote. I looked at my political candidates running in the main two parties and the political candidates running in the two lesser parties that have the best chance to win, and did not find anybody that I could, in good conscience, vote for. So I chose not to vote, which is my right as an American, which I apparently am in company with Colin Kaepernick, who also chose not to vote for similar reasons. But I'm not a Gary Johnson guy either. I don't know if you've heard Gary Johnson actually talk about his tax plan. He doesn't know it. He doesn't know his own plan. So to me, I can't get behind that. And Jill Stein seems to know less. So at this point, I'm not going to vote just like for anybody. It's got to be somebody that I've researched and I've vetted myself and agree with on issues that I agree with. And I didn't find anybody, so I'm not voting. Period. I mean, that's just all it is, right? I do see the error of my ways on some level. I read this article that apparently Ric Flair knows the man who ought to be president. It is himself, and Ric Flair voted for himself to be president. So instead of being in company with Colin Kaepernick, I could have been in company with Ric Flair if I had chosen to vote and had voted for Ric Flair. I could have voted for the Nature Boy, which now I realize, yeah, I made a mistake there. I had an opportunity to vote for the Nature Boy. I didn't do it. That there. And before you go, oh, so you're not going to vote, but you would have voted for Ric Flair? Yes, I would have voted for Ric Flair. Hashtag Make America Woo again. Do it. Also, you could do worse than Ric Flair. And they're running for president. So at this point, who are you debating really? Me or your own poor decisions? That's all I'm saying. You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. People have a lot of theories, and I really like this article by USA Today because people have a lot of theories on why the NFL is losing ratings this season. The NFL has blamed it on everything from election season to the protests before games, which I find laughable because there's so many things that people have have watched football through. We have watched football through domestic abuse. We have watched football through horrific rape cases. We have watched football through bad refereeing, where we watched replacement referees actually ruin the game of football. We watched football through all of that. The actual product on the field was compromised because of how stingy and petty the NFL can be. And we still kept watching football. And the NFL said, well, the protests are the reason why people aren't watching football. Okay, sure. Yeah. Because if I'm a diehard 49ers fan who disagrees with Colin Kaepernick, I'm going to stop watching the Niners, even though I've been watching the Niners since Joe Montana threw the catch to Dwight Clark in the back of the end zone. Yeah, sure. Yeah. No, that's not how this works. You don't get to watch football through literally everything that could have ruined football, but then some guy takes a knee before the game, and suddenly I'm out. People that I know that watch football do not think this way. And I know a lot of people who watch football. That's most of us. So how is it that the NFL has declining ratings? Well, the other prevailing theory is the game's just sloppier. The game's worse. It looks actually worse. And I do subscribe to that theory on one level. And that one level is this. The Thursday night games really do look sloppier, which makes sense because you play football on Sunday, and instead of giving your body an entire week to recover from this violent game that they have to play, you now have a handful of days. You're not going to get the best out of guys. Injuries are going to pile up. Every single player in the league that has been either brave enough or brazen enough to talk about Thursday night football, they don't like it. They don't like the way that it makes their bodies feel. They don't like the way that they play when they play Thursday night football. They feel the game is sloppier. And if you watch the games, the game is actually sloppier. USA Today, specifically for the win, the USA Today blog, they basically went through a number of statistics that found, at least statistically, and you can't rate people's route running and things of that nature. Statistically, the game of football is not any sloppier than it's ever been. People are scoring just as many points as they've ever scored. The penalties in the game of football have been decreasing. The interceptions have gone down. The fumbles have gone down. The drops have gone down. Missed field goals have gone down. The total points scored per game on average is about the same. Because nothing's changed on that front. So if the game is sloppier, you show me where it's sloppier. Because I don't see it. Right? Like Lebitard over at the four letter, he loves to say this all the time, that the game is getting sloppier. Football just looks bad these days. And that somehow seems to smack of, well, everything used to be better. Right? Like, the people in my generation, we are the current owners of that. We're taking up the mantle that our parents left off, that our cartoons used to be better. Our shows used to be better. Our music used to be better. Our movies used to be better. Everything that we used to like used to be better. Nothing that's coming out now used to be better. Well, you watch Dragon Ball Super? Nah, man. You should watch Dragon Ball Z on Toonami. That was better. And I don't know how it is that you can come around with that mindset of everything that you liked is better because that's the way it used to be, but everything that's out now, it's no good. You can't like it. Right? Like that's there is a problem with the NFL, right? Because they are losing people. They're losing ratings. But think about why they're losing ratings. They're losing ratings because the NFL got greedy. The NFL has put football on too many days of the week. And the NFL is becoming less special with every extra day that there's football on. And then in December, early December, we start to get some of these Saturday night games. So now you've got football on Thursday. We've got football on Saturday. We've got football on Sunday. We've got football on Monday. We have football on most of the week, meaning, okay, football is no longer special. You can catch it anytime, which is the draw of football, is that football is special. It's somehow different from all the other sports. It's got less games. Now, I took economics. It was a class that I really enjoyed. It was actually one of the classes in my life that involved numbers that I really, really enjoyed. And probably in like the first or second chapter of the economics class, Econ 101, you learn about the economic principle of scarcity. Scarcity. The less of something that there is, the more valuable it becomes. Presumably, right? Gold always is gaining in value. Why? Because it's always becoming more and more scarce. They're always telling you, buy gold, buy gold, buy gold. You buy gold, now there's less gold for other people to buy. The value of gold continues to rise. It never goes down. Because it's always becoming more scarce, presumably, right? Scarcity is what makes something have value. It's actually the same reason why if you want to get into a relationship with somebody, don't smother them, pull back, because it makes you more valuable. Oh, that person has their own life. They're doing their own things. That is a person of value. Value in the NFL is dropping because the NFL is flooding the market with football. And you know what? People aren't responding the way the NFL thought, because the NFL just thought, oh, everybody just watches football any old way. And look, we've gotten through the Ray Rice thing just fine, the Darren Sharper thing just fine. And no matter what seems to happen, people seem to always want to be watching football. So we're giving it football to the world. We're trying to get people in on it internationally. And the NFL has failed to forget the one thing that everybody learns in an economics class: scarcity. Because people are saying now, the football stinks. The football stinks. And the NFL's like, it's football. Like, how do you make the football better? We gave you lots of football because we thought that you just like football. What do you mean you want better football? We're just giving you football. we don't know how to do that other thing where you make it better. We haven't ever had to do that. Right? Like we've never had to do that thing where we had to make the thing better. The NFL is like the one company that's out of touch with reality. They've never had to do that. But the problem isn't that they've made the football worse. It's that they've given people so much of the football that they're starting to see the bad points in the football that were always there. They were always apparent. They were always visible. People are starting to see it. And it's not special anymore. So the league has flooded the market with football. And the only way to fix this problem is to take football back off the market. Seriously, take your Thursday night football game back. Monday night football, I say take that back too, because A, those games haven't been good, and B, you have it on ESPN. It's on cable. Well, people are cutting the cord at a record rate. People don't have cable as much as they used to. Right? Like people are running away from cable. Thursday night football is at least fine in as much as you've gotten that thing on Twitter. It's online. If you want to find it, you could find it. They refuse to do that with ESPN. You've got to have ESPN3 or some kind of cable provider, in which case, why don't you just watch it on TV? And they flooded the market with this thing that at the same time is simultaneously hard to get access to. So it exists in a space, but it's harder to get access to. And people are like, why would I ever waste my time watching football when I've got a million other things I can choose? Every single day, there's more things that people can choose. People can go on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. I legitimately watch YouTube instead of TV. Right? Like, there's so many things out there that you can watch. Why would you ever choose bad football? Like, it used to be that you would just sit down and watch the Browns and the Jaguars play in a football game. If it was the Monday night game, it was the only game that was on, and all the Sunday football was over. And we're not going to get any more football till next Sunday. Yeah, I'll sit down and watch the Jags and Browns play bad football with each other because they're bad football teams. Yeah, I will. Right? Like that's you do that. It happens. But you don't do that anymore. You've got NFL Sunday ticket. You can choose only to watch the good games if you want to. Only watch the Patriots play if that's what you want. Right? Like only watch Phillip Rivers play if that's what you want. Only watch the Cowboys if that's what you want. And then skip everything else. So you've got that. You've got that you're competing with everything else online, and everything else online is more interesting. Why would I sit down and watch bad football when I could just watch Netflix? Why would I sit down and watch bad football when I could just watch Amazon Prime? Why would I do that? I wouldn't. Like, I would. It's my job. I watch football. I watch good football. I watch bad football. I try not to. Like, if I know a bad football game is coming around the bend, like if I know it's about to be Jags-Browns, I know it's my job. I'm not sitting down and watching that. I watched the Falcons. I watched the Titans in college. I watched the Vols. I watched Bama. I watched my own team. That's about it. I'm not going to sit down and watch bad football if I can avoid it. And there's so many other things to do to avoid it if bad football is something you want to miss. How does the NFL fix its ratings problem? Take back the football we did not ask you for. Take the Thursday night football back. We didn't ask you for that. You're trying to make it a tradition. You're trying to make it a thing. It's not a thing, right? Like there's a Key and Peele sketch that is hilarious. And I can't even say the word on the air, but basically it's this group of friends that they get together, and one of their friends says this word that's supposed to mean awesome. And it's a word that he obviously made up, and his other friend is now just calling him on it and going, no, you're trying to make this a thing. And you know what? It's not a thing. That's what we've been telling the NFL about Thursday Night Football since they debuted it. You're trying to make Thursday Night Football a thing. And you know what? Thursday Night Football ain't a thing. Take it back. And they won't take it back. So then you get a bad Thursday Night Football game because their week, those teams' weeks are shorter. And then you get more football than you asked for. Football's always on. It doesn't feel special anymore. You don't have to gather around the TV on a Sunday. So you do other things. You watch Netflix. It's got a bunch of movies and it's pretty cheap. If you've got internet, you're good. So I don't have to pay for cable. I'll just follow my fantasy football team on my phone. Scarcity. It's a concept that every business ought to be very familiar with. Every person should at least be aware of. And the NFL seems to be neither. You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. Make sure to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And, of course, the TuneIn Radio app, free in whatever app store it is that you use. That's the TuneIn Radio app. Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, and the TuneIn Radio app. Listen like you mean it. So, the Atlanta Hawks, not the Falcons, the Hawks. The Hawks have gotten off to a pretty solid start, and I'm very excited about it, right? Because last year's Atlanta team showed a lot of promise, and then it just kind of, the wheels eventually came off the off the cart with the Hawks. You had the injury to Thiago Splitter. You had a team that offensively couldn't seem to find an identity. Defensively, they were weak. And they did something risky, right? They're 4-2 in the Eastern Conference. They're fourth. They did something a little bit risky. They picked up Dwight Howard. And that's a pretty interesting move, right? Because the general consensus of Dwight Howard, and I'm not alone in thinking this, is that he's past his prime. He's injury prone. He's past his prime. He's a little washed up. We haven't seen the best of Dwight Howard since Orlando. Best Dwight Howard played 6 years ago, right? Because we didn't even really get Dwight Howard in Los Angeles. Dwight Howard was always dealing with the shoulder and the labrum. And did the Lakers and the Laker fans treat Dwight Howard well enough for him to stay in Los Angeles? No. I'm actually glad for Dwight that Dwight left Los Angeles. I don't think that was ever a good fit for him, unless Steve Nash ever did get to play, who he himself struggled with injuries the entire way through. So that was never a thing either. Then you get Dwight Howard in Houston. And for 1 year, that appeared to work. But you have a problem, which is that you share a team with James Harden, whose ego is bigger than the state of Texas, which is unfortunate as he does live in the state of Texas. James Harden and Dwight Howard cannot ever exist in the same locker room. It's not possible. Right? Dwight Howard, James Harden, not the same locker room. And eventually their relationship eroded to the point where James Harden was asking management if Dwight Howard could be gone, basically. So Dwight Howard, according to the rumors, I should say allegedly, not basically, because I'm not trying to be sued for slander. Allegedly. Dwight Howard finally returns home. Atlanta is his hometown. Here he is. And you know what? Dwight Howard looks really good. Dwight Howard is looking like a double-double machine. Now, I don't know if he can stay healthy. That's the other issue with Dwight Howard. The two criticisms, right? That he's washed up past his prime and that he's not able to stay healthy. Well, he certainly doesn't look past his prime. He doesn't look peak of his prime, right? Like if you look at someone's life, like going up a hill, the top of the hill is the peak of their prime, and then afterwards they're starting to go down. But that point right before they get to the top and right before they leave the top, they're still in their prime. They're just not in the best of their prime. Dwight Howard is on his way on the downside of that hill, but he's still high enough on the hill that he can play really well. And what I like what they're doing with Dwight Howard is that they're moving him all over the place, and they're using him as this kind of weird energy player, sort of like what the Clippers do with DeAndre Jordan. You're not posting up too much with Dwight Howard, which is perfect, because that never should have been a part of his game. And I contend, and we'll see what Coach Bud is able to do with Dwight, but I contend that Stan Van Gundy was and always has been the best coach for Dwight Howard, because Stan knew Dwight better than Dwight knew himself. Dwight wanted to post up. He wanted to be the big fella down low, wanted to be the guy living in the footsteps of a Shaquille O'Neal, wanted to post up, except for one fatal error in that logic, which is Dwight Howard can't post up. I mean, it looks bad. Like, it doesn't just look sort of bad. It looks real bad. Hakeem Olajuwon can't teach you how to post up. It's time to just take the message to heart that the universe is trying to give you. Post up. It's not something to hurt your feelings. It's not something to be offended by. You cannot post up. You do not know how to. It's not been in your DNA. It's not ever been in your training. You left high school and went straight to the NBA. You never learned how to post up. Accept that you're an athletic freak and let people throw lobs to you. Why is this that hard? Why does it have to be that you have to post up? I understand that your ego is there, but listen to me. Let them just get you the ball however you get the ball. And what do you know? Dwight Howard averaging double-doubles. Would you look at that? It seems unbelievable, right? But here we are in a season with Dwight Howard. This is what Dwight Howard is averaging right now. 17 points, 12.3 total rebounds, 61% from the field. I mean, Dwight Howard hasn't had a season this great since Orlando. Since at least Orlando. Which is crazy. Dwight Howard is putting up numbers just below his career average, which I would argue is strongly skewed in the direction of the Orlando years when Dwight Howard had 50-point games in Orlando. I mean, take a look at that. Dwight Howard. His career totals are 17.8 points per game. His total rebounds, career-wise, is 12.7. 58% from the field. So he's shooting better from the field. His numbers are right up there. He's never been this efficient. We're getting the best of Dwight Howard. So are the Atlanta Hawks. And that's a gigantic key to why they started so well and might be able to make a run in the pitiful weak Eastern Conference. You're listening to Hot 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. Clutch with Keon Rose. Remember, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Stay clutch. I'll see you in 24 hours. But Alex Jones, he's coming up next.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Fox News Talk 1240.
I'm blowing everything up. We're starting over. I'm doing a new show. I want guys who push it to the middle of the table and go over the top. Take a risk, fail miserably. I'm right, and I'm not wrong, and I'll never back down. Conflict works. Allow it.
It's The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Right here and everywhere. Noon Eastern.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Fox News Talk 1240.
And now to our reporter in the field.
We asked Ray at Ray's Plumbing what's important for homeowners to know.
Some field line systems can cost upwards of $10,000. The bottom line is to save yourself money down the road. I would definitely recommend everybody with a septic that is not on county or city sewer to have an inspection done by a qualified professional. It'd be great if nobody did inspections on them for all plumbing companies. That's what we do to make a living. Not to scare anyone, but it should be in the back of your mind. The danger is the field line failing and costing thousands upon thousands of dollars and tearing your yard up. By preventative maintenance, you're saving yourself a large headache that may displace yourself and your family. That happens more often than you think. The waste is designed to stay in the tank, and that waste will build up over time. Even with treatment, we have to help that waste break down. Ultimately, preventative maintenance is the key that will keep you from spending $5,000 to $10,000 on replacing your septic system. The bottom line is to save yourself money down the road.
Call Ray at Ray's Plumbing, 421-6341, 421-6341.
At Eyer Optical, it's a well-known fact. When you buy one pair of glasses, you get a second pair absolutely free. But did you know Eyer Optical has the largest eyeglass selection in the area, with top-name brands and styles in the latest trends? Schedule your appointment with one of the doctors today for a comprehensive eye exam. And remember, when you buy one pair of glasses, you get a second pair absolutely free. Visit EyerOptical.com for a location near you.
Eyer Optical.
Finding just the right place to live can be a daunting task. Stop your search. In Chattanooga, the place to live is Cross Creek Villas for under $1,000 and available for immediate move-in. You can enjoy this 2-bedroom split layout, over 1,000 square feet.